Good morning, Dublin, is what I still cannot say, but anyways, as you all know, I'll try to give a short recap of what happened yesterday at the ELC slash Yocto booth and have a short lookout in the next 15 minutes what's coming up today. So, for a first recap, I think yesterday the main brand new or hot topic was Yocto versus Debian-based build mechanisms for embedded Linux distributions. It seems that the Bosch crowd primarily has announced or released their own thing, Apparatus, or what was it called? I admit I didn't have an in-depth look at it so far. I guess it's probably something along the lines of ISAR as used by Siemens too, or Elbe from the Linotronics guys. My take on those is they have their uses for various reasons, primarily the that they are being served from one compact feed of sources, from one coherent feed of source packages that they are based off, as opposed to the Yocto project being a Yocto-based build pulling in a conglomerate of various layers and sources. So that's probably the main discriminating thing. For the use cases, it depends. And to add on this, I know Chris gave his Debian versus Yocto talk yesterday again. I admit I did not see it because I already know it, but this is probably the best rundown that is to be had on the topic. So if you're wondering what the rationale behind each approach is, go and rewatch it. It's also on YouTube from other conferences. I highly recommend it to look it up. Then we've had the Yocto BOF, where we discussed various topics in the Yocto project ecosystem, and our awesome and wonderful core behind the scenes mastermind maintainer Richard Purdy was serving an Ask Me Anything session where we talked a lot about the current pseudo state, which is, let's call it, interesting, as well as proposing a possible scheme if there is enough interest in, wow, let me untangle my topic, my tongue. If there is enough industry backing and interest for it, an LTS scheme, we are at the moment targeting each 2 years, but as Nico already pointed out, or Richard, if there is enough money involved, we can do more. Well then, I think that's the recap. As usual, drop by the Yocto booth. We will be serving some video chat in the lounge area too, as far as possible. And now let's have a look at today's schedule. Okay, sponsor showcase. Yeah, that's what I just said. Get in touch with us at the booth. And it calls um, advanced system D for the embedded use case. Let's look at the short. That does sound like I would probably go for it, especially taking into account that the alternative is Flutter by some Sony guy, and I will probably expect that to be very, very company-ish and with fancy slides, but not so much an in-depth thing. So my guess would probably, or my advice would be to go for the system D talk. Then let's go on. The ELISA project, I've seen a talk on that specific topic, I think like 2 years ago. it is a little bit special if you are interested in how a big company can approach long-term maintenance and security patches for a Linux system, then this is go your go-to thing. But it's not for everybody, I would say. For SSH and the command line, I would say this is stuff you just have to know. Okay, there is C++ for real-time safety critical systems. Venture Hollywood. I do not know neither the speakers nor the the specific talk. I can see it. It sports a lot of buzzwords from the real-time world. I can tell you, it it might be interesting. From the Yocto perspective, of course, probably go to Alexandre, uh, and I probably mispronounced that now really badly. He's a long-time contributor and maintainer of a lot of embedded Linux stuff, so he knows his ins and outs. This is probably what I would go to in this case. LoRaWAN and Zephyr, that's no idea. Okay, then ask the experts on RISC-V. Might be interesting in some form. Then challenges of V2L, V4L2 and threat modeling for OSS-CIP. Wow, that's both like not not what I would be interested in. Unless you are actually interested or you are working on image processing and video sensors, then this might be of interest. Key methodologies and threat modeling, those are like keywords I tend to shy away from because that usually shows a lot of slides with fancy boxes where people do things but don't really tell you how you can get your own stuff sorted out. So this is not my kind of slot that would be interesting. I'm if it's just for the free time, one might look into the clock system internals by Neil Armstrong. That could be interesting. As I already pointed out, embedded systems based off Debian are one of the main topics this year, and I already pointed out that Elbe is one of the approaches. Well, here's your talk on it. Okay, self-test running in test strings might be interesting if you are in continuous integration or something like that, but probably just for the sake of understanding other approaches, I would go to the embedded Debian talk. Then, okay, this is your go-to session. Ask the expert session with Jan Kiska. I know Jan personally. He's a great guy and one of the most knowledgeable and competent folks when it comes to real-time Linux in the embedded space. So this is your go-to appointment for this slot. Then we have okay. This is a complicated one. Linux on RISC-V by Drew, who is of BeagleBoard.org fame. If you're like in the maker space or in the bleeding edge interested, so what's the cool stuff the kids do these days? Probably go to Drew. TPM is probably more of interest if you have a use case for it in your applications and your products. This is a choice that is only depending on what your own priorities are. Rootless containers from scratch sounds basically interesting if you are into containers. Okay, then lightning talks. Oh, no, not my cup of tea. Okay, then it gets complicated again. This is a slot where you have to split yourself into four or watch everything on video later. Automotive grade Linux is one of the main users of Yocto and embedded or open embedded technology. So there is a lot of interesting stuff to be seen there. libiio is really a common place to or common technology in the embedded Linux space if you're interacting with the real world. So that is important. Patch submission, review, and other processes. Okay, this is the one you might skip if you're not interested in working with upstream, but of course you should be. And then Michael Optenacker speaking about Visual Studio Code, which is one of the most requested technologies um, for application development these days. So this is of high importance these days too. Okay, no. Then let's go on. This, on the other hand, is one of the slots I would have no idea if I would want to watch anything at all. Opti is a secure stuff thing you can use on ARM CPUs. So this is really only of interest if you have a need for it in your product case, and it's ARM only. So not of that much interest to the broad audience. Non-CPU. Plus, it's a guy from Samsung. I expect a lot of corporate smoke and mirrors there. Sorry if I'm wrong, but this is my first take on it. And a Vulkan driver for the Raspberry Pi. Well, that's probably just interesting if you're looking for the bleeding edge state of art, what's going on in the accelerated 3D world, open source world these days. But I hardly see real world use cases there. How to Ansible by John Hawley. John Hawley is of a lot of maker fame. He's been involved with the Yocto project too, so that might be of some entertainment value. Well then, Pluto SDR. I'm no radio guy. I can tell you if that's good or bad. Probably if you're into radio. Precision time protocol and packet timestamping. Again, interesting if it is related to your use case in some form. Otherwise, probably skip it. Just as well as deploy RTOS as containers. Bruce Ashfield is actually the kernel maintainer for the Yocto project, so I would probably join him just for the sake of mental support there. But this is again this is the depends on your use case slot. All three topics might be of interest. All three topics might be highly boring if it is just not what you need. Okay, and that's everything that's on the agenda for today. As usual, have a coffee, get in touch with us, find us in the Yocto booth, find us on Twitch, Twitter, all the usual places. Where is my goodbye scene? Here it is. Thanks for watching. Take care and see you tomorrow, folks.